Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Double Game Week 23 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, my co-host, Late Riser, and I are joined, as always, by our friend, Big Man Bakar. How's it going, buddy?
Thanks for having me, Zoph. Hello, and welcome to all the viewers. It's going well. All three of us are sitting on a century this week, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it's going well. Life's good. Rashford triple captainers in the house.
Yep, that went well. LR, how are you doing? Good to see Man United getting some points on the board.
Yes, I mean, honestly, yesterday was all about one man for me, and that was Jadon Sancho. He's apparently been through a lot, and you can see with the reaction that most of his peers not even playing for United are giving him. Obviously, something happened there, and to see him play incredibly well, he absolutely changed the game yesterday, and do what he did and score a goal. Great to see. And just a couple of other things that were on my mind with regards to how much we obsess over. It's almost embarrassing, as adults, how much time we spend on this game, and I always wondered if that's worth its while, etc., or not, right? And on Friday, there's something similar happened where, being the obsessed FPL managers that we are, I owned Anthony Martial, and I saw that there were no training pictures where Martial was involved. So went to get the images, went to the United website, minutely looked at every picture, seeing if Martial's hiding anywhere, not there to be found. Overthought, maybe he's just missing a session, etc. Eventually was wondering whether I should hold on to Martial or convert Martial to Bruno, thinking about the triple captaincy Rashford, because I wasn't there until the last hour. And this little switch led to a 30-point difference, and just sort of reaffirms belief that overthinking helps, paying so much attention and obsessing helps. So yeah.
Yep. Everybody should listen to more FPL podcasts.
Exactly.
Right. Lots to unpack this week. We had some late doubles announcements. Let's start with our sponsor plugs and jump right in. All data you see on the FPL Wire is taken from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. The new improved members area is now up and running, and the new comparison tool lets you compare key stats for up to 3 players. Player projections are also live, and as always, you can access the custom stats table we create or make one for yourself. Sign up for membership today using our affiliate link in the description below. Right. Let's start with the schedule first. Give you guys some of the news in case you haven't heard yet. We had some doubles announcements. We were expecting the double for Liverpool and Wolves to go in 25, but the Arsenal-Everton one has also been thrown in there. And I think everyone's first reaction when the Liverpool-Wolves double was announced was dribble up on Wolves. And I'm being cheeky.
Not everyone.
I'm being cheeky. No. What are you guys thinking initially?
Okay.
Prioritize Arsenal. Unquestionably, the team to go for. Gave me 25 double, gave me 23 double, gave me 28 fixture. They have a fixture in 28. Even their fixtures before that, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Fulham, their run after 25 is great as well. I mean, a lot of what we do with Liverpool was dependent on the result last night, Sunderland versus Fulham. And now that Fulham have won, we don't really know whether Liverpool will have a fixture in 28 or not. So, and we won't know till after game week 25. We'll only know before game week 26 and after game week 25. So, I mean, it's important now not to overcommit in Liverpool. Maybe go with someone like a Salah, but I don't think it makes sense going with more than 2 from Liverpool. Wolves aren't really in the picture because, they have good fixtures in 23 and 24, but as of now, we're prioritizing Arsenal and City. And you essentially need them from 24 onwards, which is after which they have poor fixtures. Everton, they seem like a new team under Sean Dyche, but I mean, it's just one game, so there's sort of a wait and see for me. If you're looking for an enabler, I don't mind Tarkowski, but other than that, I don't think there are any options worth looking at the moment.
Bakar just covered all the important points of the podcast in the first 2 minutes. There you go. Boom. Just drops it just like that.
Boom.
I see that, Bakar. Yeah.
But yeah, the good point I think Bakar makes also over there is Arsenal now are the team to target, right? If you don't have Arsenal assets now with doubles in 23 and 25 and a confirmed fixture in 28, if you're not tripled up on Arsenal, you have to do that this week. And I think one of the main questions we will tackle on the pod is sideways move. What we call that is taking a hit or moving a transfer from an Arsenal asset in a similar position, whether we should do that this week. But before we move on to that, we also want to give a mention to Brighton. We expect them to have a double in either 26 or 27. So you Mitoma owners should definitely be quite excited about that.
And this isn't our intel. We basically blindly copy paste the work of what James Trapand FPL does and what Ben Dinnery does. Ben
Krellin.
Dinnery, right? Oh, Krellin. Sorry. Krellin. Dinnery does the injuries anyway. Brain fart. But you definitely need to follow Ben Krellin and Planet FPL. And just wanted to add that.
Cool. Anything else to move on to schedule? Should we start discussing now the teams?
Yeah, let's go. What do you want to start with?
Let's start first with Man City and let's discuss triple captaincy and all Man City assets, and then we'll move on to Arsenal. Let's start
Sounds good.
first with Haaland, who registered an expected goal involvement of 0.01 against Tottenham. Now we have his data up. Now this is his XGI from game week 1 to now. In only 2 games we see he's registered an XGI of 0.21 and 0.01. That's away to United and away to Tottenham. Otherwise you see he's consistently close to 1, and more or less he's almost overperformed his delta in most of these games. So where are you guys now on the list? The first a simple yes or no answer. Should you triple captain Haaland in game week 23?
You should be open to it.
Bakar?
I think yes, because even though I like Arsenal's fixtures in game week 25, I don't think there's a clear talisman. It's unpredictable as to who will get the highest share of the points. Could be any random player in a given game week. While at City, there is only one person who's going to get the majority of the chances, and that's Haaland. So I think if you have the triple captaincy chip, I would play it on Haaland this week. I mean, who knows whether Salah is on form, not in form. I mean, it's a crazy season where we might be looking at Salah as a differential in game week 25, even if he has a double game week. So I think you play with what is in front of you, and I think with the information we have, Haaland, in my opinion, should be the best triple captain option out of 23 and 25.
So where are you on that? What would you recommend to?
I am
players?
very much firmly that in the camp that you should triple captain Haaland this week for the reason that Bakar mentioned. Arsenal spread their goals around a bit. The fixtures are great in 25, but you expect each of the mids to get like your 10, 12 and all that stuff, not something like we saw where Rashford hogs almost all the XGI. So I think that you only get that with Haaland. You're not getting with the guys in 25. With Liverpool, they might be better, but again, bit of a shot in the dark. Salah's shot volume just isn't there. Even though Liverpool are racking up the XG, Salah just isn't getting the underlying numbers in terms of big chances and shots. And you could potentially keep it for later in the season, but as we mentioned in previous pods, that's when you'll probably like to maybe use your bench boost, use your free hit. The other chips you might want to play. There's UCL rotation that comes into play later. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer pick to do it this week. Only reason you might want to go for 25 is maybe if you're chasing, because very few people will use it. You can probably, Salah will probably, 110, 120 that week. So you can get the maximum usage out of it. But if not, I think Haaland easily this week.
Yeah, I mean, what are the potential things that could happen this week? And if I mean, what are the arguments that are in favor? I'll come to you first off. Do you think and do you buy the notion that Emery is tactically very astute and he's capable of seeing City off or restricting the chances that City get in an away game at the Etihad?
He is capable, but as we've discussed earlier, Haaland is also capable of hat-trick against even the best team in Europe.
Exactly.
So I don't think that really matters, especially at home.
Correct. The only reason what I could see happening here, because it's a Sunday, Wednesday turnaround, right? So if City are 2-0 or 3-0 up, then you're seeing early subs for Haaland. But also if City are 2-0 or 3-0 up, it also means that Haaland is probably involved and has already gotten the point. So that is what the criteria. But what are the arguments against? There are a couple of arguments against, in my opinion. And it's related more to the potential upside of the Arsenal or the Liverpool assets in Game Week 25. I think, given the fact that City play Arsenal, I don't buy into the notion that City players are anybody is worth considering captaining over Haaland even this week. Yes, there are lots of merits and narratives, but nobody just has the ceiling that an Erling Haaland does, and you have to go with that because of the points you guys mentioned. But in 25, one of the games that Arsenal has is Leicester. Now, that game is capable of being 3-4 goals. There's college potential in a game like that. And similarly with Liverpool now, one of the things when people are citing the stats, and I'm digressing and moving to Liverpool, but it's worth mentioning is that in the last 4 or 5 games, Salah, for 3 or 4 games where he's underperformed or he's not posting good numbers, has played with Gakpo, who's a little bit of a baby in the league, and one of Harvey Elliott or Oxlade-Chamberlain. Now, the news that we have is Jota and Firmino are in training, and changing from a front line of Salah, Harvey Elliott, and Gakpo to Salah, Jota, and Darwin, or Salah, Jota, and Firmino, or any three of those players, and it's the difference is miles apart. So the upgrade in attacking potential is huge. So you could just see a lot more chemistry. And it's not like Salah and Jota don't really know how to play with each other, or Salah and Firmino don't really know how to play with each other. None of them are really expected minute threats to Salah. So, if you're not really feeling the Haaland thing, if you think City are in a bad moment, Salah is still king. He does have 5 years of goodwill. So if you're not feeling it, and if you're telling me, what, I want to maybe hold on to an Arsenal asset or a Liverpool asset in 25, I'm not against it. That's where I'm.
You know what? I think this is more of a debate now, the triple captaincy this week, because people have seen Rashford outscore Haaland, Rashford in 22 outscore Haaland from game week 20, and now people are more sort of open to going against Haaland, which wasn't the case earlier. And especially now that, news coming out of City isn't that great, and the vibe at City isn't great. Haaland is blanked, and they've just lost a game against Spurs. So it's a case of outcome bias as well. I personally think that Haaland should be the clear-cut option to go with, in my opinion, because when you have the opportunity at home to Villa, you'd expect City to win, and Haaland at home especially is a bit of a beast. There are points there for the taking.
Yeah, these underlying numbers are scary. I mean, except for 2 games against opposition that defended really well, the numbers, 1 XG consistently, great numbers.
And coming to the point, I do think that those people who triple captain Haaland in game week 20 were unlucky. His XGI was actually better than what Rashford managed in game week 22, yet they sort of had to go through a 12-point loss, which was just unfortunate. It's just a case of classic variance. But that doesn't mean that just because Haaland didn't do well in game week 20 and he's just blanked last week, he'll be poor again in game week 23. I still think it's a fantastic triple captain option to go with.
Spot on, Bakar.
I'm just comfortably sitting on the fence here, because if people aren't feeling it, I don't think it's a stupid move, or I don't think it's wrong to maybe hold on to see if you're feeling somebody in 25. I just don't think it's incorrect. That's all.
I don't think that any stupid moves as such, right? Because we didn't really captain Haaland. Why? Because we always discussed it was a perfectly good, but we weren't getting a right vibe around game week 20, right? That's about it. It's all depends on your gut. If you don't feel like doing it, you can always look later.
Correct. What do you guys think about whether having 3 City is necessary, etc.? How are you guys placed with your City assets at the moment?
I still have Cancelo. So I have De Bruyne and Haaland. So Cancelo's got to go. I'll probably move him on to Ake. But let's talk about some of the numbers. I've got a chart here again up from Scout about with the numbers since the restart. With all the midfielders, Haaland is not on here. Mahrez, obviously, let's talk about him first. He's top of almost all these numbers. Goals, shots on target, assists, even XGI. 4.35 is above De Bruyne. I think, LR, you own Mahrez. How are you feeling about his prospects after him getting hooked early on?
Same. My expectations are slightly tempered because, it was a loss for Manchester City, and literally anything could happen in terms of how Pep reacts. So things are a little wavy, but, if we're talking because the numbers between De Bruyne and Mahrez, when it comes to expected goals, Mahrez is higher, but when it comes to expected assists, De Bruyne is higher, as you can see in the charts here. I just think De Bruyne is going to play both the games. I don't want to sit on the fence here, and a lot of people have been on the edge when it comes to De Bruyne. And yes, he hasn't looked like how he has looked. He isn't the De Bruyne as we know him to be, but I thought he was quite good in the 30 minutes cameo against Spurs, created a few chances. He's still behind only Bruno and one other player for chances created since restart as well. So his expected assist numbers are good. And if you don't have De Bruyne in place, I am in the camp of putting yourself in a position to get lucky when it comes to FPL. And, a lot of people are thinking about the Bruno to De Bruyne switch. I'd make it.
For a hit?
For a hit, probably not. For a free, definitely.
Talk to me about Bruno a little bit before we move on to City. Sorry, Bakar, I want to get your take on Bruno for the next 2 games. I saw the first half yesterday. I thought he was quite unlucky not to get some points. He created the chance for Garnacho, which was cleared off the line. A couple of times he was just found in the box but couldn't get the right touch. What do you think of holding him for the next 2 game weeks in particular?
Not a bad hold. Not a bad hold. It comes down to where your team is set up, right? If you're in place with good 3 Arsenal assets, maybe 2 or 3 City assets, and you don't really need another asset or don't need to spend a hit for a transfer like that, then it's a comfortable hold. You're playing against Leeds United and Leicester, so it's a comfortable hold. But if you're in a position where your team is in a good shape and you want to sort of take advantage of your team being in a good position, then don't hesitate to make the Bruno to De Bruyne switch. Because expected points, as we know it, because City have 2 games, are higher for De Bruyne. The problem earlier with De Bruyne was that I didn't like him as a hold in 24 and 25 because the Leipzig game is after the Forest game and rotation is expected in those games. But there's an easy out in Mo Salah right now who has a double in 25, which is why I don't mind it. So it depends. If your team is in a good position, I don't mind the Bruno to De Bruyne to Salah move.
Bakar, where are you for a free and for a hit? I want your views on both sides.
Firstly, I'd like to say that Bruno is a perfectly good option to have this week. I think he was very unlucky not to get any returns last night. He actually had the best XGI among all United players. Again, a case of outcome bias. If he had, gotten an assist, he would have been, more popular. People would be holding on to him. But a lot of people are looking to move him on for Mahrez, De Bruyne. I think I won't definitely sell him for Mahrez because I'm not entirely sure whether Mahrez is going to play 2 minutes. As Pranil said, wasn't great against Spurs, and Pep sort of lashed out to him on him at halftime. So I don't know whether he's going to be in the lineup. I still suspect he might be, but I don't think it's worth selling Bruno for a hit just to get Mahrez in. Bruno to KDB is interesting because it's technically an extra transfer you're using, because in game week 24 or 25, you're likely to use that slot for Salah anyway. It's just whether you think that De Bruyne in the double outscores Bruno versus Leeds by 4 points, and I think that's very tough to say. I think that depends on judgment. I do think Bruno will get a good score against Leeds, and when you add 4 points to it, especially considering that De Bruyne has a game against Arsenal, it's a very tough call to make. I do think De Bruyne will do well in the Villa game as well, especially because he's been underperforming of late. He's due a haul as well, but it's just one of those situations which would go either way.
But you do it for free.
Yeah,
I think so. Just because I'd like to, go with the double. It's a 51-49 call, in my opinion.
For a free, I think I'd definitely do it. But the decisive factor for me here is that game week 24 fixture away to Forest. I don't know if that makes any difference, but he was also benched for the reverse fixture. I think it was game week 2 or game week 3 earlier in the season but that time Forest were playing a back 5. And the reason we think De Bruyne was benched in the 2 games against Spurs is because he likes to play Alvarez against a back 5. So none of these 2 teams next, Villa or Arsenal, do play a back 5. But with Bruno, we might end up getting the same number of games as KDB with that game week 24 in mind.
Yes, the thing is, but you do have Salah as an out, right? You can do De Bruyne.
Yeah, but Salah has Newcastle away that week. So it's not a great entry point.
It's not a great entry point. But I think the double is worth chasing. So for a free, I'd still do it, because I don't want to sit on the fence with this one. For a free, I'd do it. I wouldn't do it for a free to probably Mahrez. I would definitely move Bruno to an Arsenal midfielder like a Saka, which is what I am doing. De Bruyne, I would do it. Mahrez, I probably wouldn't, because I don't think Mahrez is going to get 2 starts. I'm not convinced.
I think we all pretty much have the same consensus on that. Do it for free, but for a hit, it really depends on your playing style. Because ultimately, we always talk about like good teams, good players. We might have a double for the top 2 teams in the league. So even for a hit, I think it might be worth chasing. Because are you getting a wounded animal vibe about City?
Not at the moment. And the one other thing that is worrying me also is Pep thinking that there's a point stocking going to happen in the league. And if he's definitely going to prioritize the Champions League, the Forest game is right before the Champions League game. So that's the game I'm worried about when it comes to rotation. So, yeah.
There's something definitely wrong because, I was expecting after Arsenal's loss to Everton that they would come out all guns blazing against Spurs. That didn't happen. And, sort of, there's something definitely wrong at City. So, who knows how Pep is going to react.
But you have to give credit to Spurs also. I think they were defensively really astute. They set up really well. And Spurs, it's worth pointing out that City haven't scored a goal at Spurs in the last 4 or 5 games. Despite having an XG of 9, that stat blew my mind. 0 goals, 9 XG. I've never seen something like that. So it is there a ground where they generally don't do well also. And, when it comes to XG generated since restart also, City's top, if not top 2, if I'm not mistaken. So they're producing the chances. It's just a couple of things that haven't worked out for them against tough opposition. So yeah. What do you guys think about Grealish? Lots of questions in the chat about Grealish. Now, I think all three of us are on the agreement that the top 2 attacking assets for us are Haaland and De Bruyne. Agree? Bakar, Zoph?
Yes, definitely for me.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you guys think about
For
the
sure.
Mahrez versus Grealish conundrum?
If you have Mahrez, you definitely hold, but I wouldn't be bringing in either. Same thing with Grealish.
Yep.
You hold, don't buy.
If you had to bring in one, let's say it's a manager like me who wants to get creative, his team is in a good place, which one would you get, Mahrez or Grealish?
Mahrez.
Mahrez, because his output is greater when he's on the field.
Yeah. And the slight thing is, Foden didn't play the last game because he was close to playing and he was ill, and he's played more on the left. So while Grealish has played really well, he's been one of the few guys that have done well for Pep since the restart. That Foden threat is still always there, and Grealish hasn't been explosive enough for us to worry. Mahrez still has a brace or a 3 return game in him because of the player he is. He loves to shoot on side. Grealish isn't that player. So if you're picking one between the two, I think there's similar expected minutes for both at Go Mahrez.
That being said, I just noticed Grealish's numbers: 3.97 XGI, KDB 4.04, Mahrez 4.35.
Exactly. He's been doing well. He's been playing well. But I just think historically, Mahrez has more haul potential.
Really, but those numbers for Grealish, I didn't really realize they were that good. So I do understand why people are tempted by that.
Exactly. And he's been playing well. It's just the Foden threat is legit now, in my opinion. So yeah.
After a loss, everything is quite unpredictable with Pep.
Exactly. You could play the whole narrative though, right? Because Grealish is playing against his boyhood club at home. So the extra, if you want to build a narrative, there's a narrative there to build.
Spot on. Should we move on from attack to their defense?
Sure.
Yeah, this is a section I'm quite interested in as a Cancelo owner, so I'll be picking your brains over here. I was watching Burning Questions yesterday, and the guys who seemed quite keen on Akanji over Ake. And I know, Bakar, you own Ake. Do you have a firm opinion either way? If you move off Cancelo, do you like either one more than the other?
I'm not as bullish on Akanji because there's every chance that Diaz comes back in. In fact, the City fans are crying out for it, and Laporte is also available as the left side centre back. So I'm not entirely sure. I just think Akanji seems like one bad performance away from being dropped. So I personally won't go there. I do think Ake is the best City defender to own at the moment. The problem is that with UCL around, he will probably be rotated due to that reason. Truth be told, I don't think, even if I had Cancelo, I would swap to a City defender. I think, and a lot of other managers are in this situation as well, where if they own Cancelo, they're also owning Trippier and an Arsenal defender and Shaw. So I don't think there's a need to swap Cancelo out this week as an urgent transfer. You can just sub him like you did this week, because you have 3 playable defenders anyway. I don't think a City defender should be a priority to bring in. But if you want one, I still think Ake is the one to go for.
It's a dilemma because, like you said, rotation is an issue, but the fixtures are good. 24-25, if he does play, it's Forest and Bournemouth. And I think Shaw, I don't like playing Shaw away to Leeds as much this week. And Ake has that goal threat right from his Bournemouth days. And we always see there's one City defender who gets this haul in a double. So I just like chasing the upside with him for this week alone, and he'll probably be my fourth defender.
I think he starts both. I think he starts both this week. If you're looking for a player to start both, I think he starts both this week.
What about Lewis?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Between Akanji and Ake, because I can't split the minutes between them. And for more information, there are a couple of Manchester City experts on Twitter, and Luke's been on the spot for a couple of times. Pay attention to what his thread is like. But because the sole reason that you mentioned, if I can't split the minutes between the two, when I'm watching City play, Ake seems to get on the end of a lot more set pieces than Akanji does. So his goal threat is substantial, for which I will prefer Ake. But yeah, why not Lewis? I think the last game where Lewis played on the left-hand side shows that Pep is okay to trust him on both sides. And while his expected minutes, and he is inverting one of the sides, so if he continues inverting, right now Lewis is the only one capable of playing that role while Cancelo is out. So, if you're in your opinion, the expected minutes for all three are clouded and dodgy, then why just not go with the cheapest one, thinking about whether you'll need a third City spot in the future or not? Just go for Lewis. Save the money more than anything else.
Only thing I worry about is the start
I
at
just don't-
25. Because 25 is when you're probably going to need your entire squad, right?
He's 25 as well, and I'm not entirely sure whether he's going to play 60 minutes in every game either, even if he starts. Early subs could happen.
It's true. The thing with City and anybody in 25 is you're not reliant on them for starts.
In case you're watching the audio version, the chart we have over here lists the minutes for City defenders since the restart. Both Akanji and Ake have just missed 45 minutes each. Otherwise, they pretty much had an appearance in every game so far.
Yes. And it's like Bakar rightly pointed out, Lewis has had 2 45-minute appearances. One as a starter where he was subbed off, and one when he was subbed on the 45th minute. So, yeah, good point.
Pep has been very complimentary about Ake in recent times. When you look at his interviews, he's actually said that he's been their best defender of late. So it's just whether or not he gets rotated around the UCL that should be the more big of a threat.
So
I'm also with
go ahead.
With Bakar, you can opt for a non-City defender too.
That was going to be my next question. Who? Where do you?
I think you can just wait. I think you can just wait and go. Why not Tarkowski in Game Week 24 just to get the double in 25, and he has a fixture in Game Week 28 as well. He's a decent enabler.
The
his
28
fixtures are
is
decent
away
from
to Chelsea,
25 and 28
So
as well.
I
know, but his fixtures, 24, 25, and even the fixtures after that are decent. Plus, he's 4.3, so he enables a lot of move. That's the catch.
And also Zoph, 28 is away to Chelsea. Good fixture for a clean sheet.
I like that. Kepa's been delivering though, so clean sheets both ways.
For a clean sheet. Yeah.
Kepa's been a monster this season.
Yeah. Yes. So I think you could go two ways if you're switching Ake. If you have enough in your team for Game Week 25, getting a second Newcastle defender isn't a bad option, because they're definitely playing in 28. They're playing Forest in 28, and they're decent defensively. So that could be an option. Or you just roll the dice on the high upside, extremely poor defense Liverpool team. Like these are the two ways you go with.
Cool.
It's just chasing points. Liverpool haven't shown anything to look remotely close to not keeping a clean sheet, but remotely close to conceding fewer than 2 goals. But those are the ways in which you can.
19th for big chances conceded this season.
What about James? West Ham, Southampton, Spurs, Leeds, Leicester, Everton, confirmed games, no blanks in 25 or 28. Actually, now that I think about it, 5 million Badiashile if you're looking for somebody nailed, because he's in the box also a lot of times. Good shout. Or Reece James if you fancy it.
I wouldn't bring in the bad man. I think you can, with rotation, with UCL coming about, there's a bit of rotation. And even with James, he didn't look quite the same Reece James in the last game. I think he's building towards it. He's not trusting his body as much. So I would give him a couple of games still. I wouldn't jump in yet. Maybe around 25.
Yeah, but you're holding him because you don't want to spend transfers in your defense. So it's just about making your bets where you feel comfortable. So I don't think Chelsea is a bad place to go if you're looking to move also, given that they have no blanks in 25 or 28.
Which increases the merit of holding this week. You can just assess his fitness and then go again next week. Chelsea at home to Southampton, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the thing is though, Bakar, everybody, I don't know how much money everybody has, and they might need the downgrade on Cancelo to generate funds.
It's because I think if you have Shaw, Trippier, and an Arsenal defender, that guy will be a fourth defender, right?
Some very so the Chelsea fans in the chat are making a really good point. Badman isn't in the UCL squad for Chelsea, which makes him an even better option for the Premier League. You think he's almost nailed now for the Premier League? Yeah, that's your pick if you're looking for one.
Fair enough. That's a good shout.
Yeah.
Move on now to discuss Arsenal and some of the other double game week 25 assets.
Sure. So let's start with Arsenal though.
Right. So the chart I have up here, this is from Joe at Fantasy Football Scout. This is now the last 4 matches, not game weeks, which is why you see data for Diaz and Jota over there as well. Now, Eddie Nketiah is actually right up there. His minutes per XGI non-penalty is better than Haaland, over the last 4 matches. And I think all three of us own Nketiah, so I don't want us to sound too biased in saying that he's the best option. But in terms of data, I think there was a stat also we read from Neil in the Scout Notes. He's got more big chances than the rest of the Arsenal mids combined. I think he's got them in 2 game weeks versus them in 5, something like that.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
So
Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard have had just 5 big chances between them in the last 11 league games. That's as many as Nketiah has gotten between game weeks 20 and 22.
crazy numbers. And 90 minutes every game. You don't see him getting substituted. So I'm liking that pick more and more as we go. But in the midfielders, let's talk about this. And we have to be a little bit of recency bias, right? I think the general wave in the community this week is sell Martinelli even for a hit. And where are you guys on that? And Bakar, I saw some interesting tweets from you on this, so I want your take on it first.
I don't think Martinelli has turned into a bad option overnight. I still think he's an okay hold. But considering the state of play, considering that Arsenal have 2 doubles coming up, how favorable their fixtures are in the times to come, the arrival of Trossard, the early sub against Everton, that sort of caught me by surprise, because I was thinking, okay, I mean, he's probably at risk of getting subbed around the 75-80 mark, but that was a bit too early. And I just don't think he makes the best 3 or 5 even Arsenal assets at the moment, which is why you look at his score and whoever you get his score till game week 28, and you'd bet that, the likes of Saka, Odegaard would probably outscore him by game week 28, especially with games coming up in quick succession. There's every chance that Trossard starts a game. So even though Martinelli's numbers are great in recent times, even with Nketiah, he's been getting chances and his XGI is decent, but just the fact that his expected minutes aren't as great makes me lean towards shifting him. The next question is whether for Saka or Odegaard. I am leaning towards Saka because of penalties, and with so many games coming up, penalties do become a factor. And secondly, we don't know who the standout captaincy option game week 25 is. If Jesus is back by game week 25, and if Liverpool continue to look poor by game week 25, you might even want to have Saka as the captaincy option, because you'd feel much more comfortable captaining him rather than someone like an Odegaard, which is why I do think that, despite the price difference, their underlying numbers are very similar. That's why I prefer Saka over Odegaard.
Pranay?
Yeah, when I'm watching the games, if you're thinking about picking between Saka and Odegaard, I prefer Saka too. He just looks like a bigger goal threat to me. And in terms of caliber of shot, etc., as well, just Saka's the one if you're getting one. Also, he's going to play 90 minutes week on week. He's the best Arsenal asset there is to have. But there is a thought about Martinelli that I have is, we earlier in the week I tweeted where you have to think about whether that transfer is going to pay off by 28. But I think you can actually wait on the transfer out for Martinelli, because City is a Martinelli game. Like, that's the kind of game where, City we've seen struggle in transition. Actually, Arsenal might dominate that game anyway, but space in behind, running in behind, Martinelli tends to struggle more against deeper blocks, not against middling or similar opposition. He was good in the game against us in the first leg as well. So I think the City game screams like a Martinelli game, which is why if you want to move, actually, I think not this week, probably later, based on how the next 2 weeks pan out, might be worth holding on to Martinelli for this week. It's just the thought that I had right now. I think hold.
I think I'm in the same boat as you, because I don't think Arteta, like we were discussing earlier, he's a stick manager. After a bad game, I don't see him twisting necessarily and changing things. He'd probably go with what he knows. So I think he does get a start versus Brentford, and he goes with the tried and trusted guys for the biggest game of the season against City. So I'd probably give him these 2 games, see how things go, and if necessary, move him on in 24 or 25. That's where I am.
And Arteta is the kind of guy, he spoke about, loving them more after a loss like that. He's the kind of guy who's going to, motivate even more after a loss like that. And, somebody like Martinelli might respond to that. I just have a feeling that this week is not the week to sell Martinelli.
That being said, if for a free transfer, I'd still do it. I don't consider it a sideways move. It definitely feels like an upgrade. Martinelli to Saka.
Yeah, I feel like, I do it for a free transfer to Saka. I wouldn't do it for a free transfer to Odegaard.
I'd agree with that. Bakar, you say the same?
No, I'd sell him. Simply because early substitutions in a double game week with so many fixtures coming up. I think now is the time to sell him. Even for Odegaard, I'd sell.
For a hit?
For Saka, yes. For Odegaard, for free, yes. For a hit is slightly questionable.
What's the latest on Gabriel Jesus? When is he expected back?
So now he's at London Colony training, but he's officially, from what I've read, he's just running in straight lines. So the way the rehab works, you start placing emphasis on turns. That's when the load really comes on the knee. So a lot of people are thinking he's going to be back around 24, 25, but I'm quite skeptical of that still. I think don't see that happening now, probably till 26, 27. And we are going to be forewarned. I think we're going to see at least 2 or 3 appearances off the bench before we see him starting the games.
That slightly increases the case for Martinelli, in my opinion, because Martinelli tends to struggle against deeper blocks. Now, in 25, the second fixture is Everton, 26 is Bournemouth, 27 is Fulham, and 28 is Palace. We've seen that Martinelli did his best work in the first half of the season alongside Gabriel Jesus. They have a good tuning wavelength between them, So it could actually turn out that by the time you sell Martinelli, he might be the better FPL Arsenal mid to come. It depends on Jesus' fitness, but given this, I don't think you should sell him this week.
We should give a shout out to the Arsenal guys in our Discord. I think the consensus there pretty much is Saka as the top pick, Odegaard in second, and Ketia in third, Martinelli in fourth. I think in terms of attack. Have I got that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And again, if you guys want to join our Discord, you have to sign up as a YouTube member or on Patreon. Some great guys on there. All of us also on there a lot, and we hope to see you on there soon. Should we talk about defense a bit?
Yeah, sure. Gabriel is the pick, right?
I think so. Zinchenko's been getting a lot of love, but I don't personally see it. I don't trust him in terms of minutes, in terms of fitness. He's so injury prone, and when there are 3 games in a week, I start to worry.
I don't have the injury worry again, because my rule is a player is fit while he's fit, and he's fit until he's injured. And the pro for Zinchenko is that, he might hog a lot of the bonus just because of the sheer number of passes that he makes in a game. FML FPL pointed this out in their pod, and it caught my attention as well. He's one of the best players in that Arsenal team. So I'm not worried about minutes as long as he's fit. So I don't think there's a huge difference between Gabriel and Zinchenko if you feel it, because Zinchenko has slightly higher assist potential. Gabriel got humongous set piece, had 5 goals last year as well. So pick between the two. I think these two are the ones to pick if you're buying a defender right now. But what do you think about the White to switch to Zinchenko or Gabriel?
Just one thing before we ask Bakar, I want to mention, I think Zinchenko and Gabriel are miles apart in my book. At least no defender has registered a higher XG this season than Gabriel, 2.92. And he's got 2 goals already. We've seen it from last year. So I think the potential for a goal with him is quite high. Now, sorry, Bakar, let me ask you on White versus Gabriel.
On Zinchenko versus Gabriel?
No, Zinchenko, and in general, the whole White, should we move on to somebody else? That's pretty much what I meant.
Yeah.
If I was picking one right now, I would definitely go with Gabriel, just because he's the most likely player to start, and his XGI numbers, as you guys say, are the best. There's just a 0.1 million price difference between Gabriel and Zinchenko, so you have to sort of pay the extra 0.1 for the attacking threat. That's my opinion. I'm likely to keep
0.1 million Bakar this season doesn't matter, man. I've had more than one.
My point is, at the same price, you have to pick the player with the highest goal threat, right? Which is Gabriel anyway, and he's more nailed as well. I have White, and I'm going to keep him this week because as Prunel mentioned earlier, that after the loss to Everton, Arteta did say that he loves his players, and now he loves them even more. So there's a very good chance that he goes unchanged, and I don't think he will make wholesale changes this hastily. So I expect White to start, despite the fact that he's been poor in recent times. And if he starts, he's going to continue to represent good value.
Is that, speaking from experience, Bakar, is that how the people in your life treat you when you screw up?
No comments.
Bakar caught a bit off guard there. Bakar, you mentioned XGI. I just want to touch upon White also. White's XGI is actually quite high. I think Gabriel is
Yeah,
2.92,
very
so
high.
XGI is around 2.3 or 2.4 for White
Yes,
as well. So there
yes,
are some
Gabriel's
credentials there.
yeah, Gabriel's slightly higher, but both of them are much better than Zinchenko.
Yep. Because we have this whole thing with White that he's a 6-pointer. He's
Yeah.
not this season. He has a good bonus threat.
Yes.
He has a good thing. And I have some stats for Brentford. I want to share with you guys. I found this quite funny while digging today. Now, no side has allowed more shots on target over the entire season than Brentford. That's 117. So David Raya has been working a lot. But that being said, since the restart, they've had 4 clean sheets in the last 6, and they're second best for big chances conceded, but they are 17th for shot and targets conceded, which is 30. So averaging about 5 shots on target conceded per game. And in terms of goals, this is also an anomaly over there. They are 17th for shots and they're 4th for goals scored. So very funny things. These are numbers very similar to what we used to see at Burnley, except the goals scored. Lots of shots on target, but very few big chances conceded. So is this an easy fixture for Arsenal?
It's a middling fixture. It isn't a easy fixture. It isn't a difficult fixture, but it's a fixture I'd expect Arsenal to win.
The point I was trying to make is I can see them conceding in both games. It's quite possible. So in which case, taking a hit for, let's say, a White to a Gabriel. Now, the 2 banker clean sheet fixtures like we have in 25. I would say Leicester is not so much, but at least Everton at home, you can say is, yes, a banker clean sheet fixture. If he had at least one over there, I would say, yes, take the hit because it's very likely to repay. But he could end up getting both Gabriel and White getting 3 or 4 points this week.
Correct. But it is Gabriel's X dong is higher than White. So, if you're going to hold on to one until 28 and make the move. I was feeling it a couple of days ago. I'm not really feeling it anymore. I'm happy to just wait and watch, play the patient game. So that's where I am right now. Open to it though.
No, coming to this point regarding you expecting them to concede in both games, would you then advocate selling, let's say, White for a hit or triple up on the Arsenal attack?
That's more of a long-term thing. I still like having one defender in place long-term because they are so good. And it's been weird that they've kept only 2 clean sheets at home. The numbers they're the best in terms of big chances conceded and shots conceded at home, even better than Newcastle. So I do think the clean sheets will start coming even at the Emirates.
And the merit to having a third attacker is there are goals in games ahead. Brentford, Leicester, Everton, Bournemouth, Fulham, Palace. Now, if you're bringing in Nketiah, you're probably worrying about him by the lag end of 25, 26 anyway. So that's the problem with the long-term transfer there. If you're bringing Odegaard, I don't think he's explosive enough for that switch in my head. Saka is worth it. If you own Odegaard and Nketiah and the third attacker you're bringing in is Saka, then I don't mind the defender to attacker switch. So it's specific to different players, in my opinion.
So interesting, you mentioned Odegaard on this list over for minutes per XGI non-penalty. I think he's something like 236. So he is massively overperforming his numbers, but we've seen players do that.
Yeah, exactly. His chance creation is staggering also. So, he's in and around the box, the front presser. Does well. The Arsenal fans on our Discord do think that, games against a low block, Odegaard comes into his own and it's probably the best FPL asset to own. So worth mentioning that as well.
Should we touch anything else on Arsenal to discuss?
No, so we're thinking hold White is what we're thinking, but we're open to it if somebody wants to do it. It's not a wrong move if you think it pays off by the time 28 comes around.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have to look at it more as like a move almost till the end of the season or till the wild card, I would say. Getting it out of there. And again, depends how your team is set up. If you can afford to do it next week or in 25. If not, you can just get it out of the way this week.
Correct.
And I think Martinelli,
Anthony Chuang in the chat just made a good point. Odegaard has got 6 double-digit hauls this season compared to Saka's 1. Wow, egg on my face.
Yep. So let's talk about Liverpool a little bit. We've got Nunes up here. Should we necessarily be making plans for Salah? A lot of people have the structure now where they might not be able to afford him. What do you guys think?
The thing with Nunes is that while it's easier for us to get to Salah because a lot of us have De Bruyne or Bruno by that time, it's not exactly a comfortable move to get Nunes because Mitrovic has a fixture against Wolves at home in 25, which is favorable. Kane has great fixtures till Gameweek 27. So just fitting Nunes in is a bit tough and a bit tricky. And there's also the factor in that Liverpool have Jota and Diaz coming back. So will Nunes's minutes be as good? There's Gakpo around as well now. So I think this one is
Nunes. Bakar, I understand the expected minutes threat. Should you be making plans for Mo Salah? That's the question Zoph's asking.
Yes, I think so.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think we're on the same page because I've seen so much of Liverpool as a trap, etc., etc. So they're still Liverpool. They've still been the top two teams in the country in the last 5 years, and their underlying numbers in attack, despite however dysfunctional they've been, has still been good. And I expect that to improve once Jota and Firmino come to the picture. As simple as that. I don't think the problem that Salah sometimes has is where he's playing too wide is the problem right now. I just went back and watched some highlights. Even Gakpo has sort of been playing as an inside forward, sort of like in the Firmino role where Darwin and Salah are playing as a two forward split. And that's the role which I continue to go ahead, unless and until Jota probably spearheads that attack. So we don't know what's going to happen. But don't shut your mind to it. Yeah, you have to be open to it, and you have to respond to what happens in 24 and 25. It doesn't matter you weren't thinking about Liverpool and they were an average FPL consideration until this double was announced. But this double is announced, which means 2 bites of the cherry is greater than 1 bite of the cherry. So keep your mind open to it.
Yep. Even if Salah blanks the next 2 games, he's definitely going to be in my team on 25. He might not be my captain, but I would be very surprised if I'm without Salah that week.
Yeah, same.
Right.
Agreed.
Wolves, Everton, anything much to touch upon?
Yeah, just wanted to actually, before we move to Wolves or Everton, the 3 people that I'll be watching closely for Liverpool are Salah, Darwin, and Jota. Because Jota could be just a good form differential that could emerge as a pick. So just watch that space. You don't need to commit to them right now. It's in Game Week 25. See what happens. You've got 2 games before that to judge and assess as well. Worth pointing out though that the first game of the double is after the first leg that Liverpool have in the Champions League against Real Madrid as well. So that is just something I wanted to add. Do you think that affects expected minutes for them?
Absolutely. He has to be careful with Jota. You don't want him to get re-injured. So I think...
Actually, I think that the Liverpool-Madrid game might give us indication in terms of which of the forwards might be a better option, because I don't think there's any threat to Salah's expected minutes. So that might actually could be a blessing.
Correct, but then the same guy could get benched in Madrid and get benched in the second game of the double. It's a bit messy.
It is. I still think Darwin's the one though.
Yep. I don't think I can go in the defense. I think we were having a discussion on this prior. I think even if Liverpool had a triple game week, I really wouldn't be looking at their defense right now.
Bakar, do you feel the same way?
Yes, as I said, they're 19th for a big chance to concede this season. So, I mean, doesn't really make sense, especially at that price. If they had a fixture against Fulham in Game Week 28, then I'd be more tempted to go there.
That's fair too.
They could still have a fixture in Game Week 28. It's
yes,
just worth
but we won't know that. We won't know that before the double game week in 25, right? So
yes, so it is a semi bluff. I just wanted to cite that they, in my opinion, they have a 50% chance for a fixture in 28. So you do have to take that into consideration.
And we should mention that Trent's numbers are back. Trent's numbers are looking really good again.
The problem though is that the forwards are converting their chances. They've been wasteful. They've been wasting a lot of big chances since the restart. So it doesn't really matter until the start.
Not since the restart, even pre-restart. I own Salah and Darwin. The stat that Neil pointed out is Liverpool have missed 74% of the big chances presented to them this season. And not just Darwin Núñez is the guilty party, even Mo Salah. He's been missing a ton of big chances. But the thing about missing big chances and about goal scorers and, something that, analytics crowd might not believe it is it takes one goal. Once a striker or a forward feels the back of the net, you start to stop overthinking that, and that just changes. So be open to it.
Yep. Because what is form, right? Form is a state of mind. It's a state of confidence. And what I define form is increased confidence in one's own ability. That's pretty much it. Cool. Let's just talk about a bit before we move on to Q&A and our teams in terms of strategy and what are you guys thinking about 25, 28, etc. in terms of how many players you plan to field, who do you plan to sell, stuff like that.
I think if you don't have other assets, if you have Newcastle attackers, There may be a sell because I'd probably want Newcastle defenders after 25. Newcastle are blanking in 25. United assets, if you're getting Arsenal and City assets, if you're getting Liverpool assets, it's okay to sell. I actually think, right now people are thinking they might be hit or worse. But when the double does come in 25 and you see a blanker having 0 games and you see doubles there for the taking, whether even if it's for Everton or Wolves or Liverpool, people are going to think that 2 starts confirmed pays off for the hit anyway. Why not make the move? So people are going to come around to that eventually, even though they are not thinking about that right now. So I think you're okay with anywhere between 9 to 11 doublers. You don't need to have 11 doublers as long as you have the right one. I think most people have 3 Arsenal in place anyway. Most people have Kepa in place anyway. Then you start phasing out your United assets because they're likely to not play in 28 as well. What do you think,
Bakar?
Yes, I completely agree. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah. I think I'll be looking to keep Rashford, looking to keep Trippier. Everybody else, I think, is disposable.
Worth pointing out, though, that if you own Brighton assets, hold on to them because they're very likely to double in 26 or 27.
Yes.
So you might not sell your Brighton assets because of form anyway, but hold on to them because they're likely going to get an extra game in 26 or 27.
Good shout.
Yeah. Also, let's just discuss Everton and Wolves assets. Everton, I think if you don't own Kepa and if you're in the market for a keeper, Pickford is right up there. I mean, the fixtures for Everton also after, next week, this week they have Liverpool away, but after that, Leeds at home, Villa at home, Arsenal away in the double, Forest away, Brentford at home. How they set up and play against Arsenal just reminded me of Burnley, like good Burnley. And it's worth pointing out that this Everton squad, as in the names of the guys who are on the back of the shirts, are much better than the names of the guys at the back of the shirts who used to play for Burnley. So it's like Sean Dyche getting a team with players that are much better than the squad he had at Burnley at his disposal. And I think he's capable of doing things with that. So, Tarkowski or 4.2 million defender up there, Pickford if you're looking for a keeper. I am not against going there at all. What do you guys think?
It's just in defense. In attack, I don't trust Calvert-Lewin with terms of fitness, the Dwight McNeil, Iwobi, etc. Not really fun picks.
But defense, you're up for it, right? You're not against the whole thing because they're not even expensive.
I'm not against for it, but I still think I prefer Kepa just because we know the Chelsea are defensively sound. I mean, it's just one game for Everton. I know they have a double coming up, but still, I'd rather back Chelsea with their fixtures.
But would you put anybody off going for Everton defenders? Because I think that perception needs to change.
I think, as I said, I told Zoph that Tarkowski for Cancelo next week can be a good replacement for him.
Yeah, it's just Onana, Doucouré, and Idrissa Gueye is just a very, very solid midfield. And Taco and Cody also, they've been there, done that. They're pros who've been there doing the thing in the Premier League for years. It's not like they're not used to it. So Daesh is definitely capable of getting a tune out of them, especially in defense. So yeah, all for it.
Yep. He kept a clean sheet away at the Emirates with Burnley also. So who knows? Potential is there. Wolves, we should talk about Bueno a little bit. The general consensus is that Nouri might have played the last game because he's a bit of a specialist up against Salah. And obviously, Wolves, one of their games is against Liverpool in the double. So you might still get one game out of Bueno. Just wait and watch over there. There's not necessarily panic stations there yet.
Also, just a shout, scout Sarabia for the next 2 weeks. He impressed me. 5.5 million midfielder. Came from PSG, high pedigree. Looked pretty good in the first game. So just watch him for the next 2 games. See if he does something before 25.
Quick shout. Let me ask you guys, who do you think gets relegated? It's getting quite interesting down there now. Which 3 teams do you think get relegated?
Let me look at the table very quickly. I think Southampton, Bournemouth.
Yes.
These 2, I think, is
third
pretty
one
much
is tricky.
They're going to be the third one.
Is tricky.
Third one is trickier, and we are going to get hate from whoever we suggest now from their fan base. So.
Come on, Bakar. What do you think? Everton, West Ham, Leeds, Wolves, Leicester, Forest, Palace.
I still think it could be Everton.
Interesting.
Everton. Yeah.
I'm really hoping. I think it might be Leeds, but I saw some signs of revival, and I'm waiting to see who they appoint. It seems they're probably going to go for a new face. The West Brom guy wasn't too keen. So I'm waiting to see who Leeds do recruit. They have the squad. But
sitting today, come on, take a name.
Leeds.
Yeah, that'd be my answer too.
I hope not. Please don't
Yeah.
send me hate, Leeds fans. It's just a
Yeah,
prediction.
yeah. The squad is really good, man. They were so good yesterday. Like Leeds were legit. The thing is that they tire after 40, 50 minutes of doing what they do in terms of pressing, right? And that's where opposition takes advantage and they're vulnerable. I mean, their wing backs are a problem, and that's where they might have issues in the future.
West Ham also have to be watching over their shoulders.
For sure.
Cool. Let's just give a shout out first before we move on to our teams to the Game Week 39 charity match.
Right. So there is a Gameweek 39 happening that Ash and Benny Blanco are organizing. This happened last year as well. It's a beautiful thing where the whole FPL community comes together, and there's a game that happens between North and South. There's a lot of banter on Twitter. You'll see it on a lot of podcasts as well, etc. The website is live for ticket sales. The game's happening on the 3rd of June. Even if you're not going, just buy a ticket because it's for a good cause. It's for Street Child United. And we'll paste the links in the description below. And the website to buy your tickets is gw39northvsouth.co.uk. Just have a look at the link in the description below.
Let's just quickly do the Fantasypedia matchups because there's some interesting ones this week. Now, first up, we have Manchester City. The opponents, Villa, have conceded chances from the flanks, a lot of chances central. Now, a lot of big chances have been conceded even under Emery, even though they're not conceding as many goals. Do you look at Villa now as a solid defense as such? Because last game they conceded 4 to Leicester.
So the game against Leicester, the 4 that they conceded against Leicester were all errors because of them trying to play out from the back. They were individual mistakes. So if Emery persists with doing something like that against Man City, I think he's in trouble. And I do wonder because people say that Emery is smart and he doesn't try this against big teams, and he's very much a horses for courses manager. But this was his quote after the game: "We have to learn to try to break the pass pressing. They came here to push us and press us high. We can play long ball, but I don't want to do it. I don't like it." So it does worry me a little where he keeps talking about trying to play from the back. And, this came to my attention when I spoke to Tom Freeman about Villa when I was deciding the triple captain. He said that, while Villa have been much improved, it's not good for the heart watching them trying to play from the back. They thought they don't have the players capable of doing that.
That would be interesting, right? Against City, if they do try to do that against one of the best pressing teams.
It's suicide.
I don't think they will, though. He says horses for courses and everything, but every team against Man City in particular, the regular tactics for all the 19 teams is separate. For Man City is separate. Have you noticed anything, Bakar?
I'd say they're definitely much more improved than they were under Gerrard. But again, I mean, against City, I just think it's going to be fairly comfortable when 2 or 3-0, I'd say.
You're saying something like that?
No, I don't think it's going to be. I don't. If they try to press from the back, then they will get blown away, in my opinion. But if Emery sets up like how we think he's going to set up, which is horses for courses, I won't be surprised if it's a low-scoring game. That's why I think if you're open to the whole triple captaincy in 25, be open to it because Emery is tactically astute.
Fair enough. Looking at Arsenal, obviously the chart show the weaknesses are on the left flank, so which is good for Mahrez.
Yes, if he plays.
If he plays, of course, as always is the case.
Yeah.
Now let's have a look at Arsenal. Brentford have conceded 107 chances down the center. We should be excited at Nketiah owners, boys. Let's hope we get something.
Yes.
And Man City.
Very, very excited.
And this has been a glaring weakness post the restart as well. They're still conceding the significant majority of their chances down the middle. So it's a trend that has continued.
Right. But again, these are all very low quality chances, right? The 3 center backs are just so congested in the box. Most of these chances, I believe, they must be blocked shots or very low XG chances. Now looking at Man City. Now Man City's weaknesses look to be at right back, where again talking about Martinelli, it might be something he targets, but I don't know. Is that Walker should be able to manage it over there? I don't know if this is Walker's been injured for a large chunk of the games, right?
Yeah, but he's fit right now.
He's fit and he's been on the bench for the past 2 or 3 games.
Yeah. The thing is, he likes one of his wing backs inverting. So if he plays Walker and Ake, then none of them move into midfield, which is Lewis's role. So we don't know what Pep's going to do, but that's the sort of
It's something
ecosystem. I
to
think.
favor, like in Martinelli's favor, at least on paper.
Yeah.
And again, at Mitrovic, we should again be the fixture against Forest is when we should hope he delivers some points. He's been quite poor for
It
the
is
last
worth
3-4
pointing out
weeks.
that the Forests have improved. They've just become a much more pragmatic thing, and what because of what's happened in the first 17 games of the season, people are just paying a lot more respect to Fulham also. Where they are setting up defensively well against teams like Fulham. So, I don't know how bullish we are on Mitro as an asset or Andreas as an asset. Just worth noting that Forest have improved.
Still a lot of chances conceded down the center, so I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
And the last one, this is just for you Mitoma owners. Palace with the weaknesses down the flanks. Good potential for a haul again over here.
Yep.
And it's a derby.
Dr. Triple. Yeah, this game leads to anything.
Right. Let's do our teams. This is my team.
While Zoph is pulling out our teams, there are about 900 of us watching the stream. We really, really appreciate if you could just take a second to click on the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, click on the subscribe button. If you like our work, just spread the word on Twitter. It really, really helps us. So, we keep mentioning this, but it's a small thing that you can do to support us. Everything that we do is for free. So just, hit the like button. It helps us.
Right. This is my team. Kepa in goal, Trippier, White, Shaw, Rashford, Martinelli, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Mitrovic, Haaland will be captain, and Nketiah. Cancelo, Andreas, and Patterson on the bench. Current thinking is Cancelo to Ake and not take the hit for Martinelli to Saka. Probably bench Shaw in that case. I don't think United will keep a clean sheet away at Ellen Road.
I would play Shaw and I would do Martinelli to Saka personally.
I don't have that much money. I have 1.2 in the bank, so the move would be Martinelli to Odegaard.
The thing with Shaw, by the way, Zoph is he's on one half of the corners. He's on one half of the set pieces. And in the game against Leeds, he made a lot of inward driving runs. Like he could have had an assist on 2-3 occasions, and I'm not comfortable benching Shaw off.
Zoph, I'd take the hit in your case. I'd take the hit in your case then. You can't get to Saka.
Yeah, probably then like to Cancelo to Ake and then Martinelli to Saka, something like that, or probably max out that. That's something I'm going to see because I'm again a little bit wary of jumping off Martinelli. I want to give him this week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But Shaw is a good play this week, Zoph. Like he had enough attacking impetus in the game last night.
Fair enough.
Just good for an assist.
Chasing the upside with the doubles because you're not benching Trippier and not benching White, obviously. So it's just more of an upside chasing thing.
Yeah.
This is your team next, Ella. Do you have it up there? Should I read it out?
I have it up here. I have Kepa in goal. My defense is Trippier, Shaw, and White. In midfield, I have De Bruyne, Fernandes, Mahrez, and Rashford. And up front, I have Haaland is going to be my cap, Mitrovic, and Nketiah. Pretty straightforward. Fernandes to Saka for me.
Yep. I really don't think anywhere else. You need to have a look at your bench soon. You have Bueno and Doherty both there. So
Taco is waiting.
Fair enough. Easy move next week.
Yeah.
Bakar's team, I won't read out. It's the same 11 as mine, so let's just save people time, Bakar.
All right. Zoph has Cancelo though, and I have Ake. So that's the main difference. And I have Ake in my 11. I have Shaw on the bench. And if I'm not mistaken, Zoph was hyping up Ake. It has been hyping up Ake since the past 2 weeks, which is approximately the same time I brought him in. Anyway, I am looking to sell Martinelli to Saka this week, and I think that's going to be my only transfer. What do you guys think?
Fair.
Any move I should?
How much cash do you have in the bank?
2.6.
Yep. I think if Martinelli to Saka for a free, you should definitely do that.
Yep.
Simple enough move. Cool. Okay. Let's do a quick Q&A, guys. Send in your questions.
Okay, we have a question from Kuz. Play 2 out of Rashford, Mitoma, or Darwin? Jeez.
Liverpool are home to Everton, right?
Yeah, man. Jeez, that's a tough one.
Rashford, you have to play, I think.
Rashford, Mitoma.
I'd say
Form.
Rashford and Darwin.
I'd say Rashford and Darwin as well.
Wow, that's a tough one, man.
If Daishi
we
wasn't
have
in
a
charge, it was still Frankie, then maybe I would have been more than that. But with Daishi in charge, I could see a KG game.
Still, I'd play Darwin. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, Ritvik Ravi has sent us a super chat. KDB Casemiro to Saka Mahrez for -4. Have Ode but don't want to get Nikita given Jesus' return, but worth holding KDB? Yes, KDB. Don't sell KDB before a double game week. Don't do it.
Yes.
Figure out a
I think
different
Nketiah is a
route
good buy. I think Nketiah is a very good buy. Even if Jesus is coming back, he won't come straight back in the lineup. He's not played since ages. He's not match fit. So I think he's a very safe buy even this week if you haven't bought him already.
It's a funding move, right? Because he needs to upgrade Casemiro.
Yeah. But don't sell KDB. Find another route.
Don't sell KDB. Yes.
Cool. We have another super chat from Christopher Kahn. Bring in Mahrez, Odegaard for Martinelli, Almiron, or Mahrez, Saka for Martinelli, Bruno?
We're generally not keen on bringing Mahrez in, are we?
No, we're not.
Yes,
Because 24,
especially not for Bruno.
Especially since 24 is a concern also.
Yeah.
I just do the Odegaard to Almiron move if you can sort of afford it.
Almiron to Odegaard.
But figure out.
Almiron to Odegaard, yeah.
No, I think you need to figure out another route to Saka though. Because if you're bringing in one right now, bring the best asset because Arsenal have 2 doubles.
I think that's a good point, right? I don't think you should necessarily moving Martinelli to Odegaard as much a focus. If you're going to upgrade, should be towards Saka.
Yep, correct. Find another way. Okay, Mitrovic to Nketiah. Yeah, I don't mind it. Even though Mitrovic is playing NFO, Nketiah is an upgrade.
Agree.
Yes, triple Arsenal has to be prioritized.
Yep. Zoph, Chelsea question for you. Mudryk or Felix?
Mudryk, the last game was quite underwhelming, right? But there's talk about he was a bit sick, not gelled in a bit with the team. So I guess if you look at it position-wise, there are better alternatives to Mudryk in midfield, I would say, currently. So maybe just edging towards Felix because striker options are a bit few compared to in midfield. You could probably go for better picks.
Yeah, Felix for me too. Keep or sell Bruno for the table. Wait and assess. Like Zoph mentioned, he's a little bit of a Liverpool specialist, so you might get one game out of him. Wait and watch what happens. No need to make any moves right now. Cool, that's it this week, boys. Any last words? Bakar, it's been a while since we just had a general update on life, man. What's up?
Life's good.
Come on,
I think it's
something
I think it's about time that I leave. Let's keep this for another time.
Where do you have to go?
Oh, I'm playing a football match.
Sure.
Yeah.
Football, footsie, it's all the same.
Yeah.
All the same.
I'll take a picture and upload it on Instagram. Keep an eye out on the picture and caption. I'm sure you'll love
Instagram.
it.
I'm sorry, but Zoph's Instagram profile since the last
it's blew me out of the water. It's blew me out of the water.
Man's even the pictures this week, Zoph, you look amazing. Kudos to you, but just Instagram, that's the guy to follow right now. He's got form.
Utkarsh 666.
Yes, I love how we keep plugging Zoph's Instagram.
For no reason, people think there will be FPL content on that's a personal Instagram account. I don't post any FPL content on there anyway.
People don't listen. People are not here for the FPL stuff. People are here for general life. That's why I was asking you boys to give an update because it's been a while. We have another super chat while we've been here. No more super chats, guys. Bench Botman or March?
Hard bench March.
Bench
play Botman.
Bournemouth away for Newcastle this week. Good fixture.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's it, boys. Any last words?
Nothing much. We'll probably do another Thursday pod next week. I think City play Wednesday. So that will probably be worth factoring into.
Yes. Yep. Until then, good luck and see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.